Hey, it's Leigh Hankin here from Hyper Prospecting. Today's video is going to be walking through signals. Depending on your level of knowledge experience with outbound, you probably know or may not know that timing plays a huge role in the kind of responses you get from your outbound campaigns. Now, what signals do effectively is they kind of bridge that gap. Because basically the fundamentals of outbound in order to get responses are you need the right offer at the right person at the right time. Now, timing isn't always the easiest thing to know, okay? You can optimize your offer, make sure you're targeting the right people, but timing isn't something you can always know. But there is now with signals a way to actually bridge that timing. So then you're reaching out to people at the right time, okay? And timing really is everything in this context. So basically the way you do that, way you bridge that gap is with signals, because signals will tell you whether or not a company or person you're reaching out to is likely to be in market for what you're looking for or for what you're offering, the product or service you're offering right now, okay? Now, I'm just going to give a top level overview of this. There's kind of a lot of different signals within these I could go through. Really, I've basically distilled it down to six categories here. Probably the most common, I'd say, that you would be using. I mean, obviously this all depends on what you're offering, who you're targeting and stuff like that, but I'd probably say in most cases, in my experience, generally the signals categories you're going to focus on when you do this are going to be the growth signals, change signals, pain signals. So basically what we're going to do is just quickly run through these and provide a top level overview, okay? So growth signals is really things like, as you can see here, funding, hiring spikes, leadership hires, market expansion, stuff like that. This is not, by no means are these exhaustive lists. These are just some of the kind of most common ones you would see under a growth signals category. Okay, so growth signals pretty much like, obviously self-explanatory. It means the company's growing, all right? Like if you see companies in your list have been achieving funding, they're going through a hiring spurt in the last 6 months or something, maybe in their marketing department, they've hired like 2 new people plus a new CMO, something like that. Like it tells you they're growing. That's what all these signals are about. Okay, so they're they're indicators of growth in this context. So that's kind of the point behind those and what it means essentially. Okay. Another one's like change signals. So this is kind of things like companies that are doing product launches, talking about product launches, rebrands, where they've posted about, maybe a founder's posted how they've just redesigned their company website, something like that, mergers, acquisitions, new market entries. They're kinds of things that indicate change signals, okay? And so depending on what you're offering, you can come in and actually kind of tie your offering into whatever the challenge or pain is associated with that change. So for example, like companies doing product launches, maybe they might have issues with kind of generating awareness and large scale exposure for the new product launch. Because obviously when you build a new product or new features for a product, you're spending time and money on it. You want to be able to then get an ROI on it. So kind of things like that you need to be thinking about. Okay, so that's kind of just a few there under the change signals. Pain signals, this is a really good one. Depends again, as I've already mentioned, depends purely on what you're offering, how you're going to be able to use these, because some are going to be more applicable than others depending on your business. Pain signals are stuff like negative reviews, leadership turnover, layoffs, declining website traffic. So if you see if you're an SEO agency and you see someone's website traffic's kind of plateaued for a long time, stuff like that. yeah, so they're all indicators of a pain. So obviously it's kind of pretty self-explanatory. This one, it's like if you can see there's an indicator of a pain, it's like you then reach out, basically saying you've noticed or X, Y, Z, and you can fix it with your offer. So this one's a very self-explanatory one. It's also a very powerful one, okay? Obviously, if you can show a company you're reaching out to there's a specific pain, or maybe it's something they're not even aware of in some cases, and how your offer is going to solve it for them, it's a really effective way to get attention fast, okay? Yeah, so they're probably the three main ones, honestly, generally speaking, that like most companies would use, in my experience. The growth signals category, change signals, and pain signals category. Like I said, this isn't an exhaustive list of signals under each of these. But yeah, they're kind of a few of the main ones. So if we move on to a couple of these other categories here, so you got strategic direction signals. So this is kind of stuff like, companies that have announced new partnerships, ESG commitments, new contracts awarded, market repositioning statements, those kind of things, okay? So again, it's all about like thinking, what do these signals indicate or mean, and how can your offer tie into that to kind of bridge the gap? So it's just creating that relevance, okay? So that's what you got to be thinking of with each of these categories, okay? So that's a few under the strategic direction signals category. Leadership psychology signals. This one can be a particularly good category of signals to focus on for like coaching, consulting companies, training companies, stuff like that. So this could be stuff like, like observable leadership culture frustrations, founder burnout, transformation or change within a company, growth pressures that are observable, stuff like that. So anything that kind of indicates that there's stresses at a leadership level of a company. Okay, so yeah, and then you can basically come in, reach out and be like, about XYZ signal, and then again, what your offer does. Okay, so again, same as I've been talking about, it just creates that relevance. And last but not least, industry pressure signals. So this would be stuff like, companies or industries where new regulations, maybe a government's like passed some legislation, about some specific thing, and that's going to affect the market that you serve. Obviously that would and then you have a solution that's going to help ease them through that regulation somehow. Obviously it's a no-brainer then that you would reach out about it, and how your offer is going to help them navigate that new regulatory change in their market or industry. Things like competitor launches, category disruptions. So, some kind of industries, they'll experience kind of major issues and disruptions across their industry. Competitor raised funding, stuff like that. So again, they're all indicators. These are like indicators within that are tied to specific industries more so. Okay, so that's really going to be a heavily dependent one based on the industry that you serve, because obviously like not all target markets are going to deal with industry pressures. Just really depends like where your focus is. Give you an example. One of our long-term clients, they work with food and beverage brands, and there was a new regulation about like marketing and advertising for like around junk food, basically. And a lot of these companies that sell, snacks and stuff like that, obviously they had to adapt their marketing according to the government's regulations, specifically in the UK, by the way. And so so kind of stuff like that is what I'm talking about, right? And obviously that has an impact, because then they're going to be worried about how this new regulation affects their marketing or whatever else it is specifically. So that's kind of just to elaborate a bit further on what I mean by industry pressure signals. So this has pretty much been a very quick walkthrough overview of a signals targeting playbook that we rely on. So basically there's another 3 categories we look at as well. We have a checklist that's like, I think there's basically over 60, 70 signals listed across these various categories. If you want to get that, depending on where you're watching this video, it's probably in the description, a link to get it. If you're watching this on LinkedIn or whatever, just reach out to me and I'll share the checklist with you. But yeah, so this is just a short overview video just to try and explain kind of some of the top categories to focus on when it comes to signals targeting and the different signals within each category and why they're important. Okay, so as I mentioned at the start of the video, just to recap, a big part of outbound is timing. Signals allow you to bridge that gap because you can spot something that gives you a reason to reach out to those companies. So yeah, so really important. And a lot of this stuff too, just before I finish up, AI research agent. So you can find out a lot of this stuff like in tools like Clay, Airscale, Persana, whatever you're using. And yeah, like you can just run like AI, use their research agents and run prompts to find this stuff out. So, you know, you could run a prompt and it's like, let's say you're looking at restaurants and you're like, I want you to tell me how many restaurants in London of this, I don't know, Indian restaurants or, I don't know, Chinese restaurants, whatever, have 2-star reviews, 2 or 1-star reviews, something like that. And then the prompt, and then the AI research agent will then go through and actually find that information for you. So that's kind of how that works with the AI research agent. You just use the prompts in whatever software you're using based around whatever actual signal you're looking for within each category, and it will actually output all that information into the table for you. So then you know which specific companies from your sourced list you've got actually have these signals. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the top level overview here. So they're the signals you want to focus on generally. Like I said, we do have a checklist of like 60, 70 odd in total. So there's obviously a lot more than what's in this video. If you want that, yeah, reach out and I can share that with you. So that's it for this video. Appreciate your time and see you on the next one.